and gentlemen, welcome to It's On My Time. This is going to be a new series that I'm going to carry along with my other videos. So don't worry, if you're fancy of my other videos and you don't really care for my new series here, I understand, no problem. Just kind of letting you know right up front, I'm not here to please every viewer. I'm just here to, and this series is to take you along on project journeys that I am involved with. All right. With that being said, what we have in front of me here is a early 1985 944 Porsche DME wire harness. All right, did you see how that rolled off my tongue? Porsche. Porsche is the proper pronunciation. But see, I grew up in Southern California and we had a ton of VWs and we did have some Porsche runners and things like that. And that's why I call it Porsche, is because it just, from that area when I was growing up, to pronounce it Porsche was a little snobby. And that's why it's just stuck with me. So if I just say Porsche, you know I'm talking about Porsche. DME is digital motor electronics. That was what it was back in the day, and this is the DME here itself. Mounts underneath the steering wheel column area of the car. Now I've already stripped off all the insulation and that so that I could actually see this harness, and I took a piece of cardboard because I needed to be able to take this project and just kind of like throw it to the side, which a lot of times, because of the shop work in here, my projects got to sit to the side sometimes, and also some lesser projects. Also, I get a lot of comments. Hey, how's Buffy doing? Well, Buffy's still doing good. In fact, I picked up a couple other things new for her, but she's kind of on the back burner. You got to understand, I have a Bridgeport that's perfectly running right now, or adequately running right now. I'm not going to brag too much on it, but I mean, it gets the job done. So the push is not there, and then when money making jobs come in, of course, that trumps everything that's in here, and that stops my extra shop projects, but it also stops my own time projects, which that's what this series is going to be about, is projects that I think I can bring you on and pass on the experience. I myself, whenever I want to check out something, I get on YouTube and I research it. And in the researching for my early 85, which is only January, February, and March, they made my year of car. Then it changed to the later model of 85, and that's when they changed the DME, the wiring harness, the dashboard inside, and they did a lot of things. So between 84, which early 85 is kind of more so a leftover from 84 than it is the advancement of the 85 when it did happen. Some of the literature that comes in that I've been researching on doesn't quite cover it. So by going through this and help from my buddy John in Minnesota, great amount of help, and he also kind of gives me the backbone to jump in and try things like this. And there's going to be some other episodes in this series down the road that he's involved with now. We're just waiting on some other stuff, and learning is fun, and this for this project to be bugging me for a year and a half, to finally get around to having the time to go for it, it feels good. And so what I've done is I bought this harness on eBay. I don't know what I paid for it, 50, 60 bucks, something like that, so that I could cut it up and make the plans to procure the materials needed to fabricate a brand new harness. And then once I was underway and confident on this, I went ahead and pulled the harness out of the car. Now, I'm going to move this, and we have a board here, and we're ready to bring in the harness that I pulled out from the car to lay out and create a pin board. But I wanted to take you out to my car and share my time pulling that harness out of the car. All right, so let's go check it out. Gorgeous day today, but we're going inside the shelter here, and we're going to be pulling out our DME harness on our 1985 early 944 Porsche. I've got this pretty well set up, so I got skirting all the way around, fender skirts and across the nose there, so I don't scratch up my my paint job. We have a mag base which will be carrying the camera I'm holding now, and we have our Osmo set up over there, and so we got a couple different camera angles here, and we're going to just cover through what it takes to pull the harness out of the car and how we're going to go about prepping it and noting it. Okay, from taking apart the harness we got on eBay, we were able to go ahead and create a mapped out drawing of the harness itself, and we've numbered each of the plugs accordingly. So as I pull the plugs in the car here, I have some wire markers, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark each of the plugs in relationship to pulling off of here. So each item that we pull, we're going to go ahead and mark it, make a note of where it's at on the vehicle, and then continue on, and we'll just do one part at a time. Now I'm going to be dismantling some of the parts as we go, and some of it will be caught on film, but basically the removal or lifting out of the items will be more so what you'll see, the fasteners and all of that. I don't want to drag down the video time. Anything other than that, I have a pair of wire tags to go ahead and tag anything that I have questioned or I want to make a note on it, and I got those on hand as well. All right, the first time we're going to start here at the air box, and the air box is actually a 5-pin plug right here, and that's P19. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a band around there. We're actually going to put 2 bands because we have all the way from 1 to 15 on our tags here, and we're just going to put a 1 and a 9 right next to each other to make it the 19. Before we pull this plug here, which we'll have to go get our scribe, and we can get to this one here, so let's go ahead. We're going to put a 1. I might need my tweezers too, just so I don't be straining out my... Okay, so we're going to take a 1, and then we're going to take a 9 because that is number 19. Yeah, I'll need my tweezers. Verify that one more time. P19. All right. That way there's no confusion on this process as we go, because we're going to be going from P1 is the one connected to the DME, and then the plugs as they progress down the harness. So this is the 19th in order. There's actually 21 plugs or connectors on this project. So this one here happens to be up on the top, and it's going to be the first item. We're going to take off the air cleaner, and then the connecting piece here. We got to pull the intake manifold, and with that, the fuel rail will come apart, and we'll have to break loose our vacuum lines here, and there'll be a few other things that will be coming off of here that will completely open up the harness. The part of the harness goes underneath this intake, and the other part goes over the top of it, and then it comes up to here with the sensors for the flywheel area, and also the O2 sensor fittings are up here. Over here is the T9A plug, which is a plug that continues on and goes into the dash with the dash instruments and the relays. All right, typical on all these plugs, they have a little wire keeper on here, so I kind of pull that out a little bit there. The scribe actually kind of helps me pull it. The wire just passes through and it locks in a little lip on each side of the plug. All right, this is a 5-pin, but it actually only uses 4 pins to control or sense the airflow. And that's what the airflow box meter, sometimes it's called. There might be a couple other technical terms that I'm unaware of. But it's a big flap in here, and it's basically letting the DME know the airflow to the engine, how much air is coming in. All right, I'm going to let that sit off to the side, and we're going to get our screwdrivers and wrenches, and we're going to pull this unit out. Okay, we're completely loose here. I undid the hose clamp here and the 2 bolts here. This is a free breathing intake, and the air box, the stock air box, I removed, and it's on the shelf. Like everything that I've done on this car, if I've changed anything, I've taken the stock item and I put it on the shelf, and I've bolted on or made or adapted my accessory I put on so that the car could be put back in the original state without any effort, just bolting the items back in. All right, so here's the air box, and we'll go ahead and we'll set that off to the side, and it's no more than that right there. And there's the air flap inside. Now we'll be double checking and reading and making sure that the air box, once again, this is the second air box. I have 2 of them sitting. One actually had a little trace of the contact gone, and I had to do a little tweak on it. It still works fine, but I put this one in here, which is a rebuilt, and it's working perfectly fine. The next plug we're gonna pull here, we're gonna move that right down like that, just so it's out of the way. Under here is the throttle positioner, and here's the throttle, and it mounts right off the lower section there. And that plug, see if I can get I know I can get this one in here, pull that off of there. It's extremely hard to get to this one when everything is in the way, but it's not too bad when it's like that. And that clip, I just want to double check on that clip, make sure that all those clips are fine. Our new plugs that we're going to replace will be 100%. And this is a three contact plug, and all 3 of them are used. Now, throttle positioning plug is number 18 on our diagram, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that with an 18. And I did get my tweezers, so a little easier to get those off of the board there. Okay, and there is the 1, and let's pull an 8. And there's the 8. For 18. Okay, we loosened up our screws here, hose clamps. We have 1 here, and then there's 1 on the back side, and there's 1 on this fitting right here. We pop out that, we pop out that, and give it a little rotate. And there we go. Okay, we make sure we keep that hose clamp on there, and the bottom one's on there as well. Okay, this goes in the box. Okay, the next plug in line is the DME temperature plug, and this plug here goes directly to the DME, and there's another temperature sensor in here that goes to the dashboard gauge, but this is the actual one that the DME is registering to control the cold air valve. Okay, now we're going to pull out the temperature sensor, and these plugs actually sit up a little bit. This plug is actually blue, and also the sensor is kind of blue, and it's kind of special because they want to make sure that it maintains that you're going to the right sensor. All right, the other one's in there. All right, so that's it at this end of this little harness right here, and I'm gonna lift this lead out here so we can get it kind of free. We're gonna let those rubber hoses lay there. Okay, so these three right here. Now the next branch in this harness is right here, and it goes around to that side of the motor, and that's going to be going to the oil pressure gauge and maybe an oil warning light as well. All right. Okay, I'm looking down past my exhaust on this side. Can you believe that? Those headers are like 2 years old, and they're already starting to show a little bit of rusting and stuff, so might have to buy another set and then have them powder coated or something, or wrap them. Okay, let's get back to it. Wire harness. There's the oil sender down there, and I pulled back the rubber boots. The top wire's got the blue and white, and the bottom wire's the blue and black. Alright, we're going to reach down there and grab a wrench, and then we can undo those, and we're going to see if we can pull them up through where they have them snaked. And we might even tie a little line onto it so that it'll go through the part of the engine, because up here in the front you got the distributor, and you got the housing there for the timing belt, and that lead goes right down between that area right there. So we might snake a chaser string in there. I was trying to reach this from up above and couldn't get it, but I don't have the lower pan on here yet, but I'm able to reach right over here. I could have got those boots off a lot easier than I got them off up there also. Okay, let me see if I can put my hands on this little nut so I don't lose them. Okay, and little tiny lock washers. Okay, and the other one. Oh, dropped the lock washer. I see it over there. Okay, get this lead off. Okay, there we go. All right, white wire goes on the forward one, upper one, forward and upper one, and the black wire, the black and blue, go on that lower one there. All right, cool. Okay, we gotta let the car back down. Okay, we had to jack that up. We thought the two nuts were tight to get in and get these off of here, and we were pretty happy with that. But once we got those off of there, right about right here, right behind that power steering pump, was one of these clips, and we actually had to jack it up enough to where we could get underneath there and see this clip. And we still had a hard time. We actually grabbed both sides of the wire like this, and we were lucky that it just popped out of the hole, and then we were able to pull this up out of there. Once we felt how loose the wire was, once this was loose here, there's not going to be any problem dropping something down over the edge and feeding the wires in there where we need to. All right, now we need to label these two. All right, we have now these two wires here don't actually go to the DME 35 pin. These go to the 9 pin up at the firewall here, and the blue and black is the oil warning light, and the blue and white is the oil pressure. And on our schematic here, the number 21 is oil warning, which would be the blue and black. So this one's going to be number 21, and this one here we'll put number 22. That's what we're going to do right now. And do we put it around there or around the wire itself? Let's go ahead and put it around. Will it go all the way around? It will go all the way around. Is that going to stick on there? Yeah. Okay. Okay. That is 21. The oil warning is blue and black. Okay, there we go. We might put a piece of clear tape around that one as well, just to make sure, because there's a little oil film on there. Okay, this one here is going to be number 20. All right, there we go. Cool. Okay, oil warning and oil pressure. They're labeled, and I put tape around them just so we make sure we don't lose those. The nuts and stuff, this is what I said about the manila tags. So the two keepers, I got those wired on there, and the nuts and washers for the oil sender. All right, so we'll put this in a box and we won't lose these. Okay, we're just going to start uncovering some of our wires and getting what's up on the top side here, because we're going to have to start clearing out our bolts that hold this intake manifold, because we're going to be pulling off that intake manifold to completely get to the harness that's underneath here. And the other part of the harness comes across here on the fuel rail, and we're going to undo the little clips right here, and I believe this just slips off like that, and these just catch on here, and these cover the wire harness right across the top of the fuel rail. All right, and I'm gonna put this in a box. Let's pull the injector plugs here, and there we go. Okay, we're just gonna, they're pretty, you can tell that they're 32 years old. And we know what numbers they're gonna go on here, and we're gonna go ahead and put our tags on them. But I'm gonna wait until I get each and every one of these out here all the way. There we go. Okay. This thing's going to be firm enough. We can go like this. Okay. All right. So this is going to be pin 7, pin 8, pin 9, and pin 10. Okay. So let's go ahead and put those on here. Okay, we'll start off with 7. Eight. 9. And number 10. Alright, now this part of the harness I'm just going to lay back here by the windshield wiper. In fact, I might just tuck that one just so it stays back out of the way. There. There we go. There we go. Okay. Alright, now I have a few vacuum pieces here and stuff like that I'm going to go ahead and take loose, and then we're going to pull the plug wires. We're going to set those all out of the way because they're going to interfere with pulling the bolts off of here. And we got the fuel rail connections that we got to undo so that those will be free. Throttle cable. So we're going to get a couple of accessories off of here to pull that manifold. We've got everything loose on the intake manifold. The bolts that go in there, we're leaving the injector rail on there, and we're going to go ahead and feed that out there. Underneath here is 2 fittings. We got a rubber hose that connects down here on this J hose, and this one here that comes in on this forward one here. So you need to release those first. All right, last time I took the manifold off, probably the first year I had the car, and then I put like tape over it. And this time I planned ahead of time, and just to be more secure, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to be more than a couple days here that I'm going to have that intake off of here. So I plasma cut out 4 covers, and I just got some bigger nuts to take up the space of the gap, and I'm screwing these in. You notice how nice they go in? That's because when I had it off the very first time, I never seized all of these bolts, and I kind of figured that I would probably have this off sometime or another down the road. Right there's our next, I forgot to put that dummy nut underneath there. That's the auxiliary air valve right there, and that's the plug going to it, and that's probably, I believe, the next plug will pull off of there in number. That's next in line, I believe. Okay, I gotta run back in because I grabbed 2 of the wrong nylocks. They were put back in the wrong bin. Who do you blame on that? Okay, last cover on here, and on the way back there, Trish had fixed me a little snack there, so I got it out here. It looks like we're gonna have to pay attention to that as soon as I put this last cover on here. And there we go. Wouldn't want no pepperoncinis to fall down in there. Oh, hey, look at that. I can see that that's not on the right way. There we go. It was still covering the hole, and it probably would have been fine, but I would have had to look at it for a couple days. Why is it I'm not really fancy on these. Why do these things keep unscrewing off of there? I know it's heat and expansion probably. All right. Okay, I had gotten sidetracked, and this is the water temperature, and that was 17. So I'm just making sure that before we go any farther, I go ahead and get that marked, and we'll put that 1 on there, and a 7. Okay, so we got 17, 18, 19, and 20 and 21, and the next one in line is right here, and this is a slip-on connection, and it's only on one side of that sender there. So we're going to take a picture of that so we know exactly which side it was on, and that is going to be water temperature to instrument cluster, and that's going to be P16. Okay, we put 16 on the dashboard temperature sensor, and this one's being stubborn. Oh, maybe I got the clips on the yeah. They snap on the other side here. There we go. There we go. All right. All right, that's going to be number 15. And that's our highest number that we actually have on these little strips, so it's kind of cool. We're knocking down the trail here now. Okay, so we're going to put 15 on there. That's the auxiliary air. That's for cold starts. In fact, all of this, if you're having a cold start problem, more than likely the rubber that's underneath the manifold is rotten, and you got a lot of leaks. And when you have that part of it failing, you're gonna have a hard start. This clip here, I ordered several other clips. This one here was brittle. This one here actually had broke the last time I had it off. All right, so our harness now is all the way up to this point here, and it starts joining the thicker or bigger part of the harness. All right, that's where it joins in with the fuel injection here, and right here is your reference. So you got your speed sensor and your reference sensor, and those go down to the flywheel there. And this bolts to the back of the intake, and you want to undo that. Now these plugs kind of hold each other together in this this harness, or this piece here. So once you undo this, actually I probably could have undid these before I unbolted it. It might have made it easier. There we go. Okay, once that, oh, they're locked in there. That's gonna, no, they're not locked in there, but if I play it right, I can zip tie them right in there. The instructions and everything else actually kind of tell me which one is which. And then the top one, I can mark those now and then verify them. Okay, we got our little note here. It kind of reminds us that the reference sensor is the forward sensor and the rear sensor is your speed sensor. And we just chase this line out, and this is the forward, so our reference is on the top and our speed is on the bottom, and we're going to go ahead and mark those. And when we get inside and we verify our continuity checks to the harness before we start playing with it, we will also be verifying that we have that right as well. All right, so the reference sensor, which is the one we're working with right now, is number 14. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a 14 on each one of those, the one we're going to, and on the other side as well. So we're going to put a 14 on this one. Then we can put away the clip here, and we won't have to worry about it. And we're going to put a 14 on that one. There we go. These are brand new. We've just had these, and we're not actually looking at this as part of our problem. As far as from here down to the sensors have been checked, double checked, and everything. And once we're running, the thing is running like a top in a dream, and there's no problems. Okay. Now the speed sensor, this is going to be number 13. So let's pop it apart here first. There we go. Okay, the wire clip. And see, that's why I just dropped that. Okay, it could have been down on one of these intakes. You know, that's... Okay. All right, number 13, here we go. All right, those are going to stay. This is going to go with the harness right here. Now I tied the throttle cable, cruise control cable, your fuel in and out. I tied those all over to there. I'm just going to tuck these down around here and let those kind of come over in that direction as well. They're going to be out of the way. And they're below and behind the harness. All right, so the harness is right here, and the plug comes up, goes through the firewall right here. Okay, so we're going to undo our clips and everything else, so we're free here. Now we have to undo this bolt here because our O2 sensor's right here. This is the catalytic heater, or O2 heater, and we don't use that here. And I have some ground connections, 2 of them coming off of here, should be underneath, and I need to get to those. Okay, we broke loose our connections for the harness, and this plug right here is the, there we go. Oh boy, look inside. Let me get the flashlight. Okay, I'm looking at a little bit of corroded contacts there, and there. This is not really a sealed plug, but it's out here. It's out here in the engine compartment where, you know, I'm looking for something that's more moisture than anything else. We're going to be really paying attention and cleaning this, and after the harness is out, we're going to be reading the contacts here for everywhere that goes into the car and the dash, and we're going to check all of that out. But we are going to clean the heck out of this plug here, and probably put some corrosion X in it or something like that. It looks a little white and powdery in there. That's a sign that it's not always a good contact. Okay, we cut our wire ties off of here so that we can get some slack, and we can get this on this. We're trying to get all of our leads onto this side here. This plug went over here. The 9-pin plug plugs in right there, and then that lead goes into that side of the dash, which goes down into the relay, and behind that dash, the rest of the DME harness goes in through this firewall right over here, and then goes down just underneath the steering wheel, and then plugs right into the DME there. The next thing that we needed to break loose is the oxygen sensor here, and the oxygen sensor and oxygen sensor heater. Okay, the heater we don't use, but the oxygen sensor is there. So that's going to be plug 6 and plug 5. So we'll go ahead and we're going to mark those off. Okay, plug 5 will be the sensor heater, which is this one right here. All right, and this one here will be 6, and that's the one that we have to baby, because we're going to reuse that. And that is going to be number 6. And that's a shielded wire as well, and that ties into the sensors. You'll see that later on. Okay, we got that, we got that, we got that one there, and this comes on down here. Okay, now we have 2 grounds right here, and we got to find out where they go. You got to get the flashlight. We got a number 8 and a number 10 ground wire right there. Now things are getting really, really good. This is the oil fill, and I pulled this line off of here. There's 3 bolts, 2 on each side up here and 1 down there, and this thing has got O-rings in it, and it just kind of pops into place right here. And just going to go ahead and pull this off of here, and you can see those O-rings there. All right, just the top and the bottom is kind of like burp and vent there. All right, this lets you get all inside there and everything else, and there's a washer right there. I spy that washer. Make sure that that's out of the way. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take and we're going to go find some plastic plugs, some red eyes or whatever you want to call them, and we're going to plug up those 2 ports right there before we do anything else right now. But this will let us get to our ground points that are right underneath here. This is the coolant line right here going into the heater, and we're trying to not have to bust that off. Now that entire harness has got to go through this way, or after it comes out it's got to go that way. So that's going to be a challenge, but right now we want to make sure that we don't have any open ports vulnerable for the engine right now. Okay, a couple wraps of tape. I found a PVC plug or bushing, and a piece of plastic like a red eye, and I wrapped some tape around them, and they're nice and tight. Now we can get to that harness back here, and if you look right there, there's the number 10 wire ground, and there's the number 8 wire ground. So we're going to grab this 10, and then we'll be able to pull it over here out this way. Actually, we can probably get both of them from here. We're going to have to sort of lift up that water valve right there for the heater. That's where this valve, the cable comes in, and this is a valve here for letting the water come into the heat exchanger inside the cab. All right, I got the grounds loose. Here's the number 10. Here's the number 8 wire. Now they're listed here as P11 and P12, and I'm going to call for right now. I'm going to call the big one, which will be ground 1, P11. So I'm going to put 11 on that one. And the secondary ground, or the number 8, I'm going to call that number 12. or P12. All right, everything on the outside, let me see here. Okay, here's that. Okay, make sure that that's fine there. Okay, here's a little loop right here. Okay, so now we should be able to undo the plug from the firewall, and I believe it'll come out this way here, and I'll have to go inside and unplug the back of the DME, and there's two other plugs that are in there. One goes to instrument cluster for speed or the tachometer, and the other one goes for high altitude. All right, let's get a screwdriver and we'll pry that through hull loose. I think it has an inner and an outer seal here. There we go. Okay. I like that. I like that now until I go in and look on the inside, right? Okay. I'm going to go inside and disconnect that. All right. We got it up here at the top here. And let's see if we can do this. Okay. We had to get that plug in. Okay, there we go. Whew. All right, and there is the number one. Okay, and then these two here are the next two that we need to label, and then we can take this harness right inside and start setting up our nail board. I think it might be easier to just continue right on around here like this, making sure we don't snag anything that's really important here. There we go. Look at that. Just like that. Piece of cake. Okay. Before we carry this in there, I believe this is the tack with the straight, and the altitude is with the rounds. I'm pretty sure. Alright, so we'll call altitude is 3. And this will be number 2. All right, there we are. Okay, let's take it inside the shop now, and we'll get ready for our pin board. All right, we're pretty well set up in here with our new board, and we got some of our goodies here, and we got some finishing nails here to make the pins, and we're ready to lay out a pin board for a harness. All right, but that's going to be in another episode of It's On My Time. Get her done.